Well, I think there's a lot of contributing factors to take into consideration, or for enterprises to take into consideration when they're looking at whether they go down a mobile enterprise application platform, perhaps versus the bespoke development of applications. And those factors will include the volume or the number of apps that are required to be deployed within the enterprise, the types of back-end integrations, and the number of number of systems that they need to integrate with. The initial capital outlay of a platform, is that going to be commercially viable? There's so many factors to this, and there isn't a one size fits all. There's a number of good white papers and reports that have been produced, I think, on this matter, on this subject, and I'm sure we'll have either have done one or will be doing one. I think the first place I would probably start is looking at the types of applications that are going to be deployed into the enterprise and the complexities of those apps. If we look at applications that are perhaps are always going to be highly in use, they need a relatively reasonably good user experience, but they're perhaps maybe quite simple applications that have got some back-end integration potentially into enterprise or legacy platforms. This is where Meet can really come into its own, because it's cost effective potentially to deploy apps in that way. You can a number of iterations, they can evolve, they can go on to multi-platform without necessarily the higher end bespoke development costs. That's where they will start to work well. That's just one area, but then there are going to be other areas where enterprises do need very specific applications that are developed perhaps for a particular platform, for particular devices, to work in very particular locations, where the environment that they're going to be working or utilised within by workforces demands and requires them to have a very, very bespoke development. So I think it will vary, and there are many contributing factors.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really important point to remember that if you're developing off a platform, you can sometimes be constrained by what has gone before. Whereas if you're developing bespoke, the world is your oyster, so to say. If you develop bespoke, you can do exactly whatever you want. Yeah. You're not limited by the capabilities of that platform or the integrations that have been developed
before. Yeah, and I guess the only inhibitor there is always going to be the investment, isn't it, potentially, of what the budgets are that are required. But it's a very good point you raised there, because actually there's a lot of Meet platforms out there now, and some much better than others, and of the top ones that are probably there, a lot of them have got some great functionality in there. But we also know from our own experiences working with clients where we have recommended platforms, and other where we said, well, actually probably not, is because whatever has gone before is pretty much they're the limitations that you've got to work within. So you can't fit a square peg into a round hole, can you, really?
Yeah.